Hello and welcome to Chocolate Covered Gaming. I am the oh so wonderful Hershey, the chocolate of chocolates, and joining me today is a real rich person. Just oozing money. It's 100 grand. 100 grand. How you doing?
Pretty good. You know what else was 100 grand?
I'm
Pretty
scared.
much.
I'm scared. What?
Same number as episode, the mighty number 9.
So on that note, Chris has lost the title 100 grand. Chris says that title has been revoked by the chocolate community. But yeah, welcome to Chocolate Covered Gaming's third candy corner. Hopefully these you guys are enjoying them because we enjoy making them. And today's topic is kind of vague as the other two have been, because that's kind of the point. Today we're kind of talking about dice rolling in general, and
one of our key mechanics, one of the big things we do, one of really the only things we actually do.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like a key point in most tabletop RPGs, it's like a real key point.
That's the game.
It's like that's what we use to decide things that happen.
Huh. Random chance in my role-playing game?
Who'd have thunk? But no, seriously. So today we're going to be talking about various things like, difficulty of rolls, if you have to make your own on the fly, maybe when too much rolling, how much rolling is too much rolling, or when not enough rolling is happening.
And basically what we're saying is if you've tracked our previous candy corners, we've just suddenly grown big cojones and decided we're going to talk about one of the key, if not the most key mechanic for D&D and role-playing games in general. So be prepared to choke on this ambition that we're going to be spewing out.
Oh boy, yeah. Are you ready for a 3-hour episode? 'Cause I am.
Wait, we're doing world building too? Awesome.
And on that note, thank you for joining us on Candy Corner's last episode. We thank you for all the support you've given us, but sadly, I've had to kill Chris, and I never see that coming. Yeah, never thought that happened.
I'm actually like the.
Yeah, Chris, I just said I killed you. Shut up, Chris. Bang, no. Bang, bang. There we go. Now, this is Chocolate Covered Gaming with your solo host, Hershey. It's just not as fun as talking to myself. Hold on while I get the Necronomicon out. Okay. Page. Ghouls, zombies. We'll go vampire today. Page 42. You owe me money.
Blah, but I do not.
There we go. Thank you, Adam Sandler, for taking the role of Chris today. We really appreciate that you could fly in on such short notice.
I do not do the blah, blah, blah.
Okay, so after all that,
so rolling dice.
Yes, we should probably get into the meat or the candy.
You mean the caramel center?
Oh, the chocolatey nougat that is our lives.
So rolling dice. Why do we do it, Hirsch?
Well, to get into a technical boring answer, we do it to replicate random chance because you already have a ton of numbers on this thing you call the character sheet that tell you what you're good at. So now you need to throw it to fate, literally by rolling a dice.
And where did the dice come from?
After extensive research, I've discovered that there is a dice tree, actually.
No, see, that's where you're wrong, actually, Hirsch. I've been meaning to have this talk with you, and I was hoping we wouldn't have to do it on the air.
But wait, you're telling me that
when a mommy dice and a daddy dice love each other very much, they you roll them together, and then sure enough, you got 3 dice where you had 2.
But wait, but what about the dice stork that harvests the dice from the dice tree that carries it to the mommy dice and the daddy dice?
Well, actually, you see, that was just but a clever ruse. Smoke and mirrors, that was.
Would some even say deception?
Right, because you rolled deception.
Yeah, okay, so back on topic. Oh god, this is going to be one of those episodes.
Perhaps. But,
probably. Not even perhaps, it already is.
So, when we roll the dice, Usually it's to do something, but not usually just anything. You know, we don't roll dice every time we need to breathe. Hirsch, when do we roll the dice?
Feel like you're asking me a lot of questions. What am I on trial here?
No, but this is an interrogation. Now tell me where you hid the dice, baby.
You'll never get it out of me. The seeds to the dice tree shall forever be mine.
Well, that's it. Release him, send him home, give him bail.
You'll have to kill me to get it.
We're sending you home, though. We've given up.
Shut up, I don't want to go home.
I mean, okay, then you can sit here and enjoy prison food, I guess.
Ha. I win.
And Bubba in the cell.
Can't be worse than right now where I'm actually boiling at 84 degree heat at 9 o'clock at night.
California summers, right?
So on topic now.
We roll dice.
Yeah, we roll dice for a lot of reasons. To attack. To attack, to cast spells, to deceive, to climb, to run, to walk a long time, to resist poisons. We roll for a lot of reasons,
So what you're saying is we roll when we're doing a spectacular action. Something that isn't mundane. You don't roll dice to open a door that's unlocked.
Exactly.
Right? So we roll dice when it's something pretty special with, an asterisk. Special being it's not something you do every day or every second, or something that's pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
Well, what if I want you to roll for those, the mundane things? What if I want you to roll a dice to grab the glass that, is on a stable table within arm's reach at your own pace?
Then you're what I like to call a horrible DM who has a little bit of spite in him for something the player did.
But
honestly.
But that glass has some condensation. It's slippery. That's a test of your skill right there to grab that glass.
And once again, I have to get my revolver out real quick. Just polish it up.
No, I cannot go back to the grave.
Damn. Let me just get out this garlic that Adam Sandler came back.
No.
Be gone, Adam Sandler. Bring back Chris.
Hey, okay, what'd I miss?
Cool. Just a vampire came in the middle of just our podcast. We'll have to cut that all out. Oh, whoever let that guy in was just a real idiot. I swear.
Yeah, I mean, hey, what's the Necronomicon doing here?
Oh, yoink, nothing.
Well, I clearly didn't see anything. So we roll a dice for, very special circumstances. And if you try to make people roll for even mundane things, it's going to get really annoying. And it will actually take the fun out of rolling dice.
Yeah. The main thing for me is just it adds so much time. The thing is, rolling dice and then having to A, roll the dice, B, add the numbers together, then C, tell the DM, then have the DM decide whether you succeed or fail. That adds a lot of time. Normally we don't notice it because we don't give a shit, like, oh,
yeah. We're just like, oh, roll dice. Okay, do a thing. Okay, what happened?
Exactly, it's just quick. But if you're going like every 5 seconds, like roll a dice, 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 you really start to slow down the game because it adds up really quick.
If you have to hand your DM a list of your dice rolls according to for what thing, there's a problem.
Now you see, you're a DM if you got to roll 500 dice a second. That's not true.
But you see, the thing is, as a DM secret, all of you people who are player only, close your ears for like the next 10 minutes or,
But wait, how do we tell them to come back?
You're right. Okay, when you count to 25, and you can come back starting now. Okay, so DM secret, 99 of those rolls that you make, the 100, don't actually matter because it's just to make them terrified.
Let's be honest, it's just mind games.
It's so much fun for mind games.
It's a game that goes on in your mind. It's weird how that works,
Yeah. Rolling dice is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, players.
Now here's the thing, players. If you did keep your ears open, You've been exposed to the eldritch chant of DMs. Now, if you have not been inoculated to the eldritch chant of GMs, quickly become inoculated, or else you will die within the week. We're sorry about that.
Find your nearest GM and ask them how to get inoculated.
Look, they'll figure it out. The quickest way, personally, for me, is listen to the Adventure Zone.
Yeah, easy.
But
easy. Your second best bet, because you've only got 24 hours, is hope you didn't listen to this episode on the day of release, and hope that if you approach your DM on a Friday night and you ask them to get inoculated with you, like they'll be more willing than usual. Trust us, we're professionals.
Quick disclosure thing, real quick.
We are not actually professionals.
We are not professionals in any way.
We are legally, bound
obligated
by contract
to tell you that
that we're not actually professionals.
Anything you can and do will be used against only you in court. We're clear. We've got our disclosure.
So, Hirsch, rolling too much is a bad thing. So does that mean we should roll as little as possible to really make it feel special when it does happen?
Sadly, again, no. The way the game works, you're going to be rolling a lot. It's going to happen when you try and deceive someone, or when you try and, persuade someone of some ridiculous feat that is actually true, or when you try and attack, or when you try and dodge a fireball. You're going to roll for all these times. You will roll often. It's going to happen. It's just, figuring out how much time between those rolls outside of combat you can get mileage out of,
Mm-hmm. Now, as a DM, what should my concern be? How should I almost pace myself in terms of dice rolls to know, hey, slow your roll, or hey, speed it up. This is getting a bit boring. What should be my internal thing that says, hey, by the way, you should maybe make them roll some dice, even if it means nothing.
I thought the interrogation was over. How dare you ask me another question?
Listen, I'm in your cell. We're sharing some of this. I think it's porridge, and we're just having a friendly conversation now.
That's right? My gruel prison wine.
Well, you can make some more. I mean, I got some moonshine here. Got it from a cat in a tent. Probably good.
Fair enough. But no, seriously though, the thing is, for me, I try and see. It depends on what my players do. I have a player in an adventure league of mine that is a very good bard. However, he's really ridiculous with stuff. So I usually have him roll one deception roll, when he starts lying. And then I don't have him roll again as long as he runs off of his initial lie. So if he's trying to convince someone that he's working for an organization, as long as he's using that information, it's not adding new parts to the story, I'm usually fine with him just rolling with it, you know what I mean?
Oh, okay. So as long as he doesn't say, oh, yeah, and then I was in, Cuba. It's
exactly.
Well, what's Cuba? Oh, I'm actually an international secret agent. All right, new deception roll, because this is...
Yeah, so the thing is, for me, it's weird. There have been times where I've had him do one roll for an entire conversation.
Right.
And there have been other times where, for the same person, I've had him roll with every fucking sentence.
Because he just couldn't keep it,
He couldn't keep his story straight, and I was like, okay, roll again.
Yeah.
Roll again. He just couldn't keep his story straight and kept fumbling around, and they kept asking him questions, and he kept changing the story, and I was like, look, man, I would stop at this point. For me, I feel like it does come down to the DM.
Mm-hmm. Of course, as all things do.
It's almost like we have the term DM discretion.
It's almost like Rule 0 exists. Huh.
It's weird. Yeah. For all of you who don't know, DM discretion and Rule 0 are two things fairly common on the D&D Reddit and stuff like that, where it's just DM discretion means ask your DM. Each DM likes to play a little different, and they may or may not be okay with different things. And what's Rule 0, Chris? Because you're actually the one who introduced me to that.
The DM has the final say on any and all rules as long as they're DMing the session.
Exactly. So
I think the proper terminology is they are the final arbiter of the rules.
You're the judge, and it's going to come down to you to rule how you want things to go. If you like rolling for literally everything, be it climbing a rope or jumping a river or slaying the great mythic beast Cthulhu, you can roll for all of those. If you just like rolling for only those real special moments where your players are pushing their limits, you can also do that too. It makes it feel like, it's a little bit more up to fate.
honestly, Hirsch, like listening to how like you handle ability, like the one roll as long as you stay on topic. It sounds like when circumstances change is when you start making them roll again.
Honestly, yeah. Like for me, depending on what they're currently doing, is when I I just have them do that one roll. Like if everyone's trying to avoid a trap, it's like cool. Everybody roll your trap, roll your stealth, do whatever. Until the circumstances change, I'm fine with that. Like, oh hey, I'm trying to walk across this bridge. I'm not gonna make a roll for every like loose plank.
Yeah, of course. It's like, hey, as long as you're, maintaining your same strategy, your same initial approach, yeah, one roll and pretty much you're good.
Yeah, but if a gust of wind because of bad luck like blows them across and they have to maintain their balance, maybe I'll be like, cool, give me another quick roll.
Yeah. Or maybe there's something trying to catch them as they cross this bridge and like, well, now we got to run. It's like, cool, new roll.
Exactly. Like that's the thing. Just I only really make them roll again when circumstances change. That way, it kind of notes the fact something different has happened. Something major enough to make them go, hey, you should pay attention. Something just happened that's pretty important.
And if circumstances, even change, you can even play with advantage, disadvantage. Like, hey, this bridge, just got set fire. You're going to have to roll with disadvantage for the second one. Or, hey, maybe the druid's like, hey, I can reinforce this wood. Boom. All right, cool. Oh, okay, circumstances change. Either you don't even make them roll an automatic success, or you give them advantage on the roll, which I think is our next thing where, hey, automatic success and fail. How do we approach that?
Oh God, this is an argument I've heard.
A heated debate.
Okay, Chris, why do you have to throw out the ones that cause people to like love or hate us?
Did you not hear what I said at the beginning episode where it's like, be prepared to choke on our ambition?
Oh God. So instant successes and failures are something that is argued a lot in D&D. There are a lot of moments where people are like, how the fuck do you think I can fail this? And there are other times people are like, there's no way you can succeed this.
So it's like, why even try?
Why even try?
So
and it's just
honestly, yeah. I take a unique stance because I'm all in favor of unique guaranteed success versus, but I'm not in favor of the guaranteed failure. And there's a very specific reason for it, basically.
What's that reason?
So if you roll for something and it's like, oh yeah, you're gonna fail this no matter what, but I wanted to see you try to get some hope and then snatch that away. Yeah, it's evil, but not in the fun evil. Like it's just flat out like, hey, you're depressing your players.
Yeah.
Like that ruins, a mood. It's like, wait, I thought I, could do this. And, God help you if they got a nat 20 and they're like, but nat 20 though. And it's like, yeah, but you couldn't have succeeded even with that. It's like, now you just stole that from them. That was basically worthless. And it's a horrible feeling.
One thing to quickly note,
I know.
note, is that in 5e, a lot of people do have this misconception. It's a good thing to get out there. In 5e D&D, you cannot crit fail or crit succeed skill checks.
Mm-hmm.
It is technically impossible. Well, not technically. It's officially impossible that a crit 20 won't do it and a crit fail won't, do it. There are lots of DMs that have their own approaches. Once again, DM discretion to how each skill goes. Base rules, however, it just depends on how good you are at something. And I think a quick slight segue, we'll come back to what you were talking about the, complete success and complete fail. I think we should talk about like just general difficulty levels for checks too.
Oh yeah, of course.
Talk about
because I know the book gives a like general idea of like, hey, this is moderately hard, this is easy.
I honestly follow that. Like so if you have your DMG, your player's handbook, or just a DM screen for 5th edition D&D.
Yeah.
One thing that they do really well is there's a quick little reference sheet for like numbers you need for rolls. And those rolls are pretty straightforward. Very easy is a 5, easy is 10, moderate to like medium difficulty is 15, hard is 20, 25 is very hard, and 30 is impossible according to like, the general rulings.
Yeah.
And you gotta like slide between that scale wherever you want.
Yeah, I honestly, it's like, well, it's not super easy, but it is a little bit, it's a little bit harder than easy. Okay, I'll knock it up like 1 or 2 points from, 10 or 5, whatever.
Yeah, the reason for these numbers too is because there are a lot of classes, each class has stuff they're good at in their own skills. They have access to different amounts of skills. Bard and Rogue get expertise, so it's like you have to keep in mind your stats and your proficiencies when you're doing stuff. Because, like, part of me is like, I've had people get mad at me because they roll a 20, but they're, let's say a wizard
Oh yeah.
that may or may not have like 6 strength.
Oof.
They're getting mad why they can't climb a sheer cliff face even though they rolled a 20. Even
Look
though
at
they're not
those noodle
proficient.
arms, Ed boy.
It's like, even with a 20, their total's 18.
Yeah.
So even because they're not proficient in athletics, so even that 20 becomes an 18, becomes a just total of, hey, this is a hard difficulty. This is a 20. You can't do that. You just will never be able to do hard.
Yeah.
Whereas,
and that happens in life too, where it's like, even on your best day, there are just some things you can't do.
Exactly. Whereas a rogue, who wants to like do a backflip over a flaming pit of lava while swinging on a rope.
Expertise in acrobatics,
Exactly. Let's say they have expertise in like a 20 in acrobatics, they probably have like a +9 to like a plus, like, gosh darn, like a plus 13. They only they could roll a 17 and hit impossible.
Yeah.
And
they're just that good. It's almost like they're experts.
Exactly. So, like, the difficulty is a really important thing to keep in mind when you're making your own DC.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're thinking about it. Like, yeah, you want stuff that everyone will be able to do, but if your wizard's going up and trying to break down a door with his bare strength,
instead of using, I don't know, it's a novel concept, magic,
right? It's weird. Then sometimes they deserve it. It's something I've had a lot of players get mad at because they're like, yeah, you're taking away our fun. You're not letting us do what we want to do. And it's like, no, you're just being dumb about it.
You're a wizard. You're a wizard, Harry. Use the magic.
Nope. You're a wizard, Jeff. You're a wizard, Jeffrey. I don't know who this Harry you speak of is. I don't know who you're talking about.
So, going back to my original point.
Yeah, back to the guaranteed success and fail after we talked about just difficulties in general.
So to kind of like quickly recap, guaranteed fail, it's not fun because it's like no matter what, they're going to lose and you're just like taking the hope away from them. And it's like, well, why should I roll my next roll? Because, you already made one not matter. Why should this next one even matter? Right? Like, but now guaranteed success, that's an ego boost. That's a, oh, what? You've got a, let's say by somehow, some way, they have like, say, a 25 in charisma, and they're trying to persuade someone that, a tomato is a vegetable, right? And, they're low intelligence, and, I'm like, I'm not even going to make you roll for that. That you can do this, no problem. You can do this with your eyes closed. And they're like, as a player, it's like, oh, yeah, I'm actually good at this. Like, so good at this, I don't even need to try. Like, and that falls in line with the abilities that their characters have set forth, right? Your character doesn't even need to try to convince this person that tomato is a vegetable for 5 minutes, right?
Exactly.
And that's why I take my stance that I do, because that's a good, feeling. That confidence in game will translate to some really fun moments when they get too confident and then horribly set themselves back by some means, It adds drama.
Adds so much. And that's actually a great idea I haven't thought about. Yeah, just guaranteed successes are just a way you can kind of beef up your players' confidence and pull some role playing out of them, Like, there are times I do genuinely reward players by either, lowering DCs or giving them, like, advantage, obviously, because advantage or disadvantage is a very important part to, dice rolling.
Well, I'll be honest, I play with advantage and disadvantage a lot because 9 times out of 10, my players decide whether or not they get one or the other, or even neither.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there have been many a moment where, like, players have, like, I've seen players do, like, very witty stuff in a face of, like, a situation. Like, I've had players, like, go on forced marches through, like, really bad heat, like massive heat waves.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, cool, you guys are going to need to, like, focus on all these things. And then people start going like, cool, I'm going to use prestidigitation to keep all our clothes cool. And Another player goes like, cool, I'm going to do Ray of Frost to like, cool down our headbands so we can stay more focused. Then I have another player go like, cool, I'm going to like, use Gust to keep blowing us with wind. And another player goes like, cool, I don't have magic, but I'll weave us some like, with this tall grass, I'll weave us some like shade things.
Yeah, and it's like, oh wow, you guys, you're actually doing stuff to make your lives easier.
And I'm like, cool, I'll lower the DC and or give you advantage. Depending on how smart you are in certain situations, I'm more than happy to. Me as a DM, I'm more than happy to just go like, hey, take that advantage. That's beautiful. Or if I have someone being really dumb.
It's like, hey, you're doing this disadvantage.
Yeah, no, like one time. So the same bard I was talking about earlier.
Okay.
This is a great moment.
Barry the Bard. Let's go.
We'll call him Barry the Bard. I like that. Barry the Bard. Played by Barry, a friend of mine. Barry's a beautiful bard. He has expertise in deception, high charisma, does everything right. He's a whisper bard.
However, he's really good at lying.
He's really good at lying, so he never fails. And he never even thinks he'll fail.
But he's just like, he's a really good guy,
Exactly. However, here's the problem. One day, Barry was playing with these two guys. It's Adventure League, so, people come in and out.
Yeah.
These two guys come in who are, semi-regulars. And Barry and them, steal some stuff. And Barry's a great liar, so eventually, someone comes like, hey, where'd you get all this stuff? And Barry's like, I got this, and goes to talk to him. The two of them run. The two of them turn and run without even waiting. Barry just sees them run. The people come up to talk to him, and Barry's like, and I'm like, cool, so just before anything else, you did nothing wrong. Because of those two, though, you have disadvantage on every deception check you're about to make. Or, well, no, not every deception check, but this deception check. So he's like,
because this is the initial impression. It's not a good
This is the initial impression. They're checking out, and there's like, a lot of stuff behind them. Or behind him. And he goes like, okay, and he actually fails it. And so after that, I'm like, cool. You have to make a deception check again, because he's trying to salvage it. But I'm like, cool, you now have disadvantage, though, again, because now they're suspicious of you, and they're like, hey, so yeah, you don't know where all that stuff came from, huh? Yeah, so what are you doing out here this late at night?
And you can't exactly say it fell off a truck in a fantasy universe.
It fell off that griffin, sir. I swear. Look, there it is right now. Oh, look at that. Oh, it's flying. Oh, you didn't see it? Oh, what? Long story short, to semi-salvage the situation, the barbarian, who we'll also call Barry, Barry the Barbarian, set fire to a local building.
Wait, what? How is that salvaging?
The guards went off somewhere else.
Okay, that's a salvage and not.
And they didn't catch. Yeah, they didn't catch Barry the Barbarian.
See, salvaging would have been setting fire to that building and then saying, "Hey, we were trying to save this person's stuff."
Oh no, they didn't set fire to the building they robbed. He just set fire like a block away.
Yeah, you could say it was that building's stuff,
Fair enough, but still, yeah. At the end of the day, the barbarian just went, cool, light fire, run. And I was like, honestly, it worked, but also,
bruh.
I mean, it was beautiful.
Who likes a match that's commits arson and thinks, yeah, this will all resolve itself.
It did. And that's the thing I hate. However, the thing is, like, don't be afraid to involve other players' actions in another player's role. That's one thing I want to say, too, because, like, the whole world's... You're trying to make a living world. This whole idea of suspended disbelief and all that. You're trying to make a living world. Everything's connected. And if, like, one player, like, screws up and gives up the ghost, and the, face guy is trying to salvage the whole thing, he's going to have to deal with the fact that, someone messed up. And vice versa, you know what I mean? If, like, let's say, you're trying to actually tell the truth, and you just act like the most suspicious person in the whole world. Like, you just keep... like, I've had a player, like, I was just going, like, he was trying to persuade someone. He kept going, like, yeah, we totally didn't do it. When, like, they actually didn't do anything.
But they're just...
But he was in character voice saying that, like, oh, yeah, no, we totally didn't do it. And I'm like, okay, look. I literally stopped him for a second. I'm like, is that how you actually say it? And he was like, yeah, why? Like...
because it's super suspicious.
I was really like, are you sure? Guarantee me that's how you want to say it. He was like, yeah, cool. roll persuasion with disadvantage. And I'm like, why? And then everyone at the table turned to him and went, do you know how you sounded? Is that how you actually talk when you're trying to persuade a human being? Is that what you do?
Did you take the last cookie from the cookie? Oh yeah, I totally didn't take it.
Like, I know your brother's holding the cookie right there, but why do you say it like that?
Like, you've got an actual issue.
We need to work on this. This isn't going to go well. Someone's going to frame you and you're going to go down instantly.
You're like the perfect person to frame. Like, you are picture perfect, all right? We need to help you.
Like, no, officer, I totally didn't kill that. Like, I don't know how the gun got in my car. I really don't know what you mean about the shovel in my trunk.
No, you know what this is? This is the first case in the first Phoenix Wright game.
Oh my god.
If it doesn't,
oh my god.
If something smells, it must be the Butts. Larry Butts. He is that person. Like, everyone, if you haven't played Phoenix Wright, that's that guy. He's totally innocent, but he's really
most
bad.
Suspicious person ever.
The most suspicious innocent person you've ever seen.
I don't even know how to process that, actually. That's too real right now.
But
oh god. I got
while he's conceptualizing the Butts, I think
boy.
Yeah, play around with advantage, play around with disadvantage. If you start playing around with those a lot, just saying someone is neutral can even be jarring in the right situation at times.
Oh no, yeah, like a lot of the time, like for rogues especially when it comes to stealth, rogues are often used to being like really good at stealth and or like, having advantage on stealth checks or stuff like that due to various items and such like that, like the Cloak of Elvenkind and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That if you just say they're neutral, it means they've done something horribly wrong, and they're like, wait.
What do you mean I'm not at 99.9% success?
Right?
What do you mean I'm knocked down to 75?
Exactly.
Why do I have a C on this test I know I aced?
Exactly. Or stuff like, when players go like, do they see? Well, you gotta start doing stuff and we'll find out,
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have a lot of my players, like, I love Rogue, and I have a lot of players who love Rogue. And so they're always like, cool, I roll stealth. Do they see me? And I'm like, well, you haven't done anything yet. So we'll find out when you start walking or something.
Yeah.
You gotta kind of figure out the general role each skill has and how they all fit together. Because there are a lot. Like, my best example for this one, actually, like, each skill can kind of fit into the niche. Like, a lot of skills overlap with each other. I think is the best way I'm trying to say.
So I think...
yeah, a really good example of this.
How do we conceptualize these?
Yeah, I think the best example I can give right now with slowly melting brain from this heat is intimidation, persuasion, and deception. Depending on how your players approach this problem with charisma, can determine which of these skills they're going to use. If they're really straightforward and brash about it, you could argue maybe persuasion or intimidation, because they're like, hey, we're going through here. And you're like, well, shoot, that might be intimidation.
Yeah.
Whereas if they go like, well, yeah, no, we need to get through here, it could just straight up be persuasion.
Yeah.
Or if they're like, hey, well, we won't go through here, but why don't you look that way for a second? It could be deception. Like, to solve the same problem, you need to talk to someone. But intimidation, persuasion, and deception all fit the role of what you do while you're talking to someone.
Honestly, one thing I've started doing. So, before like every campaign or whenever a person comes with a new character, I ask them for, the big three numbers. What's your HP, what's your AC, what's your past perception, right?
Yeah.
And then I realized, wait, why don't I know rather than ask them in the moment, hey, do you speak X language? Or, hey, are you proficient in X? I just ask them ahead of time, just like I do with those three big numbers. Like, hey, what skills are you proficient in? You don't need to tell me your additions or anything. Just tell me you're proficient in them. And also, what languages can you speak? And a lot of times I'll be looking at that whenever I've started setting a new, setting a DC or setting a check and conceptualizing the role that they'll need to make. And I look and it's like, you know what? I would usually not classify this as a survival check, but survival and nature are close enough for this situation. I'm gonna work with you a bit.
No, yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think also, honestly, with what you just said there about like all the stuff beforehand, I think we found our next candy corner. Maybe we should talk about like, before session prep and that kind of stuff and what you can do to make your session a lot smoother as a whole as we talk about, what is too much dice rolling and stuff like that.
Yeah, like maybe just the general how to get into the flow of DMing, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I think, DM tips or stuff like that, maybe DM prep will be our next candy corner. But as we continue on in this wonderful array, so far we've talked about, rewarding your players for witty and ideas and how they handle, problems as they need their skills. We've talked about too much rolling, what's not enough rolling, stuff like that. But I think one thing we've kind of just skirted, but haven't really, I want to say focused on.
The fight clubs.
The fight clubs, because let's be honest, we've talked about it a little bit, but
We talked about all the out of combat stuff.
Yeah, D&D is a tabletop RPG, which means like almost all tabletop RPG, fighting will probably happen at some point. There are your rare ones that don't really focus on combat at all, but most have combat options, and D&D is definitely one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Now, yeah,
I think one thing that we might want to tackle because it hits a bit close to home for us is when you homebrew an ability for combat.
Oh,
how much rolling is too much roll in a single ability?
gee, it's weird. It's almost like our usual standard program is about homebrewing stuff. I wonder why you bring up that homebrew is close to home.
No clue. But I think even in our past episodes, like I've made the more grievous mistake of, oh yeah, roll for this, this, and this. This works, right? And then you're like, hey, that's a lot of dice rolling.
Yeah.
You have to bring me back to reality because a lot of times on paper, especially when you're homebrewing, you think, well, this sounds reasonable. It's just 4 rolls. What's wrong with 4 rolls? They all play importantly to each other.
Yeah, those 4 rolls start to add up quick. Like the best example of 4 rolls, actually, now that you bring that up, is Fighter. Level 20 Fighter, you're attacking 4 times a turn. That takes up a lot of time if you do the usual roll once.
Then damage.
Roll once, ask DM if it hits, roll damage, tell DM damage, and then, repeat 3 more times into the same thing.
Hirsch, it sounds like you're about to bring up a possible shortcut to make your life easier when rolling attacks.
Oh, shoot, that would have been a really good segue. Crud.
It's almost I came in with the assist and gave you the dunk.
And like my actual white jeans, I missed and can't dunk. But no, so an actual shortcut that I really like is rolling your attack and damage at the same time. Like just grabbing both dice or all dice if you're like, a ranger with Hunter's Mark.
If you're playing that gosh darn Warhammer 40K.
Oh god. Or if you're playing like,
a ranger with Colossus Slayer.
Ranger with Colossus Slayer and Hunter's Mark, or like a paladin and you're gonna smite. Just rolling like, your damage die.
So you mentioned that ranger, and I just really want to quickly shout out Bree. The ranger Bree, you know who you are. Shout outs to you. You liked rolling dice and you went for it.
Boy, there's one person that one of the 3 people who listened to this just got really happy.
Or it's just like, why'd you got to bring that up?
True. But no, so rolling it all at once does make it a lot faster because you don't waste that time and you can just shoot stuff at your DM. Also, semi-metagaming, but it's totally fine if you say you hit with a 15 and then you say you roll a 16 on your next attack. Just going like, hey, so this 16 hit.
Yeah.
I know a 15 hits, so this one hits also. And just kind of saying to your DM, it hits. If they want to say, no, it doesn't, they'll correct you.
Yeah, and then they'll usually explain, hey, they did a parry on your second hit, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. They'll correct you if it's wrong, but it's another way to speed up things. Another way to speed up things, too, is if you have multiple sets of dice, which some veterans do. I know some of you don't. But if you do have multiple sets of dice that are different colors,
I've got
You
like
can roll.
6 sets
I got like 5
that
now,
I
yeah.
use.
Yep.
I've got
You
a
can
big
roll-
jar of dice. Otherwise,
Jeez. Gosh darn, man. You can like, kind of decide your sets beforehand and be like, this, D20 plus D6 plus, D6 is, one attack, and this other exact same number of dice is attack 2. And you
Yeah.
can roll them all at once and just, again, expedite the process as you throw numbers at your DM and quickly befuddle them so they ignore what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. And the DM as DMs, you helping us make our life faster and combat faster paced. We appreciate that.
No, on it, it's so nice. I have one player. She's a Susie. It's not her real name, but we'll call her Susie.
Are they a purple dinosaur that eats chalk?
No. However, they refuse to add their numbers together. They just won't do it.
I mean,
okay,
I can see an intent, unless it's just I hate math. In
basically,
which case,
I hate math.
Oof, she's in the wrong game.
No, yeah, she loves it, but she hates math, and I'm just like, no. So she'll roll her d20, and it'll be like, she'll say like, I have
16
a 10
plus 4 plus 3.
No, basically she'll be like 16 plus 10, and I'm like, just one number.
See, me, like, if I think about, like, because I've done that where it's like, hey, I have a base roll of 10, but my proficiency and ability mod puts at 16, right?
Yeah, that's like,
like, to me, that's like being like somewhat transparent with your DM, especially since I play online a lot, so they usually can't see my roll. So it's like I like kind of telling them, hey, this was my base, here's my modifying number, so here's my final roll. Just to make especially if they don't know me that well, or it helps
get that.
Build honestly, that honesty and that trust too.
Yeah, the thing is, for me, I will just say, like, just saying the number isn't a bad thing, though, because if you say, like, I got like a 32, your DM will, if your DM's concerned because you're new or something like that, he'll ask you, how did you get that?
Yeah.
And then you can show your math. However, just expediting the process is not the worst thing ever, because your DM will, there's some common courtesy here. Do tell the truth. Do be polite. All that stuff. Don't give us a reason not to trust you where you have to show us your work every time. Don't do that kind of shit. But just telling us the number straight, and if it's something ridiculous, be like, how the hell did you get that high number? Then being like, I'm a rogue. And then we'll go like, gosh darn rogues.
Yeah. No, and that's the nice thing that I also appreciate with my main D&D group is I've trained them to use this expediting tip. Because now it's like, okay, here, we're in the attack phase. All right, do all your attacks, blah, 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 blah. All right, cool. 2 of those hit, roll that, blah. All right, damage phase. Blah, blah, blah. All right, cool. All right, next, right?
Yeah.
It really, especially if everyone gets on board with it, DM and players, it really just makes combat feel that much more faster and fluid.
No, yeah, and honestly, it should feel fast. Something a lot of people who join D&D, and honestly, a lot of veterans kind of forget too. Mm-hmm. Each round is 6 seconds. 6 seconds each round. You're in bullet time.
You are in that. You are living the Max Payne life.
Honestly, you're in Max Payne bullet time all throughout combat, which is why, like, those spells that say concentration 1 minute actually means 10 rounds, and most of them last throughout the whole combat. Mm-hmm. I've only seen like a couple boss fights that go beyond a minute. Like, it's very rare for a boss fight to even go beyond a minute in D&D.
A complete side note, but somewhat, related, is my favorite Reddit stories that I love to read are when people do the real-time play-by-play of combat. Where it's like, okay, Dragon Bracefire, we throw like a volley of arrows and, magic. All right, guy runs up, stabs it, it's dead, right? Like, it's like, okay, how long was that? 30 seconds, half a minute. What? But that felt so much long. Yeah, but it was actually half a minute.
Yeah, which is this
was resolved like a duel at high noon, basically.
Yeah, that is something that, like, I feel like I love but also hate sometimes, is like, combat is always bullet time, where, like, you always see in the movies this fight should take like an hour or two, and then, like, in real life it does, and then you find out on table it's like, oh yeah, it's been like a minute and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just and then everyone's just like,
Well, because you read fantasy literature, you watch fantasy movies, and you've got these intricate, lengthy fight scenes. And yeah, we can do that to an extent, but they're a lot, shorter in that regard. Even though, yeah, a lot's happening in this, 6 seconds. It's not that long. And we get accustomed to that lengthy Pirates of the Caribbean styled montage where you go through like a room and then another room and then the rooftop. And now you're fighting on a wheel.
Basically, that's honestly how it is. And it's something I love. I try when I describe what's happening in combat, I try and describe it.
Yeah, you fluff it up.
Yeah, you gotta fluff it up. I've seen one preferred style of mine that I've seen a DM do that I just don't have the confidence to try and do is that at the end of each round, he does like a quick what just happened.
Oh, they do okay, let's rewind a couple of seconds. All right, now camera shifting to everyone doing their thing. Basically the Avengers camera work of, okay, here, this person's doing this person does this.
Yeah, he's a goddamn literary genius. And it's like super impressive how he does it. I just don't have the confidence to do it. But it really does put in the picture like, this happened in 6 seconds.
Oh, God.
And you're just like, holy cow. And then just pushes on to the next round. And then after everyone says what they do, he just goes like, cool, I'm taking all this information, chuck it in my machine, and then it spits it out, and then we go on again. That takes some time, but it's fun. I like how the second half of our dice rolling has just become about combat, which seems pretty fitting.
I mean, yeah, that's it. That's right. Like, it all comes back to combat.
Yeah. Now, one thing I will say for all you DMs, this is a homebrew podcast. One thing I do want to say is when Chris earlier mentioned, how many dice is too many dice. For me personally, it's very hard for me to say there can be too many dice. Now, obviously, kind of fitting that today's name was $100,000 for our guest chocolate, but
it was $100,000.
You lost that right.
I'm punished grand now.
You're punished grand.
The 100 without a grand.
So you're punished grand now. Thank you for reminding me, but you can never roll too many dice. You can always just pop up an app if you don't want to count. Let's be honest, Fireball's 8d6, and Meteor Swarm is 20d6.
And if you don't have multiple sets of dice, that can get very annoying very quick.
Yeah, no, and using an app is great. And Meteor Swarm, a great 5e spell, is like, if I remember correctly, about I think 40d6.
Yeah,
per meteor.
Casually,
just casual 40d6. The thing I want to say is that if you make your own items or anything like that, or make your own abilities, stuff like that in general, any number of dice is fine. It's when you start to mix types of dice that I feel things weird. Like, look, paladins add their smites, and rangers add their hunter's mark, and rogues add their sneak attacks. But notice how each one of those dice, when self-contained, are the same. Rogues
Plus, you can trace where they come from.
Exactly. Rogues only get d6s for sneak attack. Paladins only get d8s for smite and all that stuff. Unless they're using a special smite.
Yeah.
All of that is self-contained so that you don't have to be like, cool, I use this spell. It does 1d8, 1d6, 1d4.
As much fun as that sounds, God, it's a mess.
Yeah, but as long as you keep it to one type of dice, it's usually honestly straightforward and nice to just work out every type of math and actually roll it out. It's when you start mixing those dice numbers that a lot of things slow down. And that's in combat too. When people personally, I know it's not, efficient. I still use a short bow as a rogue because it's just a d6 instead of the longbow d8. Even if you're an elf and you can use the longbow, I like using the short bow and short sword instead of the rapier and longbow because it's d6s with more d6s instead of d8s with d6s.
Yeah.
It just makes things a little more streamlined for my brain.
Plus, it's easier to pick out a d6 versus a d8. You can find it, but...
Yeah. Or if you do different... Yeah. Thing? Sorry, cut you off there.
Oh, I was just going to say, we've grown accustomed to the traditional dice that it may take time for some people to get more accustomed to polyhedral dice.
Yeah.
But that's whenever I've brought someone into the fold that's never touched or even knew polyhedrals existed. Like that's always their biggest issue. Is like, okay, wait, what's a D4? Oh, it's the one that looks like a triangle. I mean, this holds up a D8. No, half a triangle of that. Oh, this holds up like a D10. It's like, no, sorry. It's like, what's a D6? Oh, it's just dice. Oh, okay, that's easy. Grab.
Yeah. Also, one thing actually to kind of note about D&D in general, because I feel like we haven't, and I feel like we should have. D&D is a D20 system.
Yeah.
Really, you only like the main thing you're going to need is D20. That's what all the other rolls are for. Really, only damage and special effects. I say with air quotations you can't see.
Air quotes.
Air quotes. Only those special effects and damage require all the other dice. You're really only going to use your D20, which is, kind of nice and straightforward. So if you memorize that, you are going to like really speed up your time a lot when you're looking for
I think
dice.
that's like my favorite question I always get from a newcomer is, so what do all these dice do? And I'm like, a lot of things. Okay, but what's each one's specific job?
Don't worry about that.
Yeah, it's like, honestly, don't even worry about it until it comes up.
Yeah, I just straight up tell people, they're like, what's each one doing? I'm like, you see this big one here? Yeah. You only care about that shit? We'll talk about the, and then I go like, what weapons do you have? Like, I have a short sword. Cool, look at this dice. Now you're done.
Yeah.
You made it. You figured out everything you have. You don't need to worry about all the other ones now. When you start getting other stuff, we'll talk about it.
When you get the cool things, we'll talk about it. Until then, look at the big boy. This big boy of a dice, this absolute unit. Use this a lot.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, it can be overwhelming. They all look different.
Yeah.
And you think they all do like a million different things.
Yeah, it's not like D8's the guaranteed damage die for everything. It's like, no, it's sometimes D6, sometimes even D4. Like, it really just depends. It gets overwhelming, but it gets easier once you work with it more. And that just kind of becomes second nature.
Yep.
But that's the game. So I think we've talked, rolling.
Yeah, I think we've done what we set out to do. We talked about rolling in all its various forms. Combat, skills, when too much, when too little, when to give people advantage and disadvantage, when to reward your players with guaranteed successes, and when to, never just guarantee fail. We've done a lot.
And something I gotta commend us for? This entire time that we've been talking, we did not make a Chamillionaire or an Adele joke.
I feel like that just would have been a little too deep for.
And now you ruined it. All right, so
I had to.
I should probably tell them where they can find us and tell us about how we almost, touched glory.
I guess you can.
All right, so if you want to send us an email about how you hated that I brought Chamillionaire, you could send an email to chocolatecoveredgamemail@gmail.com. It's chocolatecoveredgamemail@gmail.com. You can find us on our YouTube channel or our SoundCloud. Our SoundCloud is soundcloud.com/2019-6097. And from there, you can get to our YouTube. Or if you're listening to YouTube, well, here you are. Subscribe, leave a like, all that fun. Share with your friends. And new episodes every Monday at 10 a.m. Unless it's 11 because your YouTube decided to eat up the upload. And it has to come out at 11.
Yep. So, first things first, there is something I want to bring up because, we've been meaning to do this. This is a promise we said.
Yes.
And we got some time, It's also a candy corner. We're not under
our strict 1 hour,
Yeah, exactly. We don't got to bust this out. So, one thing we have been really looking forward to is waiting for someone to send us an email, when that fateful day comes and we get told, what we want to do, you know what I mean?
Yeah. An email would be nice.
It would be great. And you know what? We have one.
We do?
We have two. And one of them I can't read online. You know who you are. The other one I can though. So this is from a good both you and me know him, Chris, but we will call him Calkern, you know. We'll call him Calkern. He sent us a pretty good thing that we'll touch on the first part of your question in a bit at a later time. But then he asked us an actual question, and he even called it an actual question. What other homebrews we've made outside of the podcast that we feel proud of? You
mean our legitimate
classes, subclasses, or monsters? Hold on real quick though, Calkern. I just gotta say, why you gotta discriminate against items? Why you gotta do that? Items. We make magic items too, and I make a lot.
Well, you heard him. We can't talk about items.
But I like make items almost exclusively, and I feel like I'm being a little outed here. Just a little salty.
Would you like to bring up items?
You know what? No, because he didn't ask. Calkern, you can send another email about items if you want to find out about all the items I made. Now you gotta send another email. You see, that's how we get them to send more emails. Okay, you see?
Oh man, now we're playing this system.
You see, now we've got. Oh shit! Wait, are we still recording? Crap.
Oh. Anyway, so homebrew we're proud of. Or would you like to go first?
Well, I mean, sure, I guess. For me, I try to avoid classes and I try to avoid subclasses. I've made some in the past, but they're not exactly stuff outside of this podcast. I just don't like it too much because I feel like we get a lot of cool ones already. However, monsters I love. I love making monsters. It's a great way to add flavor and like character to the campaign and to your special campaign. If you feel like, hey, this would be a really cool monster and this would fit my theme perfectly. Like the best one I've made that got like a really cool reaction out of players one time was I made a multi-stage boss.
Okay.
Yeah, I made this huge like barbarian berserker, who the story was a little cliche, but I liked it. But the main point, he was a like prince, he was he was the brutish prince, fighting against multiple brothers for the throne. The players had to take him down because, he was obviously doing bad stuff to get ahead. And when they got to him, it turns out he had made a pact with an old god. And the old god was like, yeah, when in times of need, just when you feel like you're going to lose, shout these words and see what happens. Basically, what the old god had done is that when he starts losing, he turns into a minotaur made of dark magic.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved that thing. It was just a way that the players could be like, cool, we got this guy. And then it goes, no, you don't. And then just Final Fantasy style. Health bar refills, form changes, new tactics and attacks. And they're like, wait, what? I thought we figured this guy out. I thought we got him. And I'm like,
this ain't even his final form.
Exactly. That's one of the ones I honestly was really proud of. It was one I really enjoyed and I really liked making. It was one of the earlier homebrews I made too, but it's just stuck with me as like an idea for like what kind of cool things you can do with monsters and enemies. What about you? What about you, Punished Grand? What about you?
So honestly, it's a hard one because every homebrew I do make, be it monster, class, subclass, like I do feel a very strong degree of pride because it's like, hey, I made this. Like, you had to teach me how to homebrew because it was like I don't know where to start. And then you walked
a long way.
Now I've come a long way, and now I'm just a monster. Honestly, if I had to like pick the one, I think because of the hype that it got my brother a player. Specifically, it's like, wait, I can play that? Your brother made a thing I can play this? And it was the Kingdom of Hearts Warlock Patron. Basically, let people live out their fantasy of being a Keyblade master in D&D, because why not? And one of the reasons aside from the person actually joined my brother's campaign because they're like, wait, I can have a Keyblade? I'm in. Teach me how to play this game, right? Was I felt like I really captured like the feeling, at least of the first game's way, where there was a lot of there's customization, there's different ways to build it that you can make pretty much any of the masters you see in the games. While still being true to like, the original OG master.
No, yeah, I remember that one. Like that was one, like that was your, like, I feel like your first real one. Cause I've never, oh God, I'm going to get hate for this. I've never played Kingdom Hearts. So I knew nothing about that. So you were just like, you were like, hey Hirsch, I got this idea. Can you help me? I was like, can't really. And then you were like, cool. And then you just sent me all this stuff.
Yeah. And even on top of that, so not only did I do, because it is a Warlock patron, not only did I do expanded spell list, all the features, even some flavor text to make it fit into the world deity, then I went into Eldritch Invocations.
Exactly.
And then I did the Keyblades. Like, honestly, I've started playing through 3 recently. I'm playing through it with my little brother, actually. And the Keyblades in 3 are so wild. That's like, these are amazing. I want to homebrew these. And I haven't yet, only because I haven't beaten the game and I don't want to get spoiled on Keyblades.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I've enjoyed it a lot. My brother played it in like my main campaign, and he had so much fun, like not only collecting Keyblades, but he'd be like, "Hey, can you make this an Eldritch Invocation? Can I dual wield Keyblades?" Like, yeah, sure, okay. It's called Deep Dive now. Here you go. You get 2 Keyblades, and it was just a lot of fun to make, and then also just see in action because it did everything that I kind of wanted it to do. Of course, I had to tweak it a lot, but it was a labor of love. So I think, yeah, as my first like real homebrew, especially my exposure to subclasses, I have to say I think the Kingdom of Hearts was my favorite one, like most proud of.
It was really good. Like, again, like I only just went in and was like, yeah, I mean, this works. They're good mechanics. That's like all I did.
Yeah.
In all of that.
You said, hey, this isn't horribly broken, so I guess you did something right.
I didn't. Gotta give you. We're on a homebrew podcast now, and this guy's still trying to be humble. I swear. Okay. Well, that's answer of that question. Send them in, and we'll answer them. Hey, maybe we'll even do a mailbag episode in one of our candy corners.
Oh yeah.
However, I do know what we did have another email, and I think this is one I'm going to have to, I'll bring out because it was directed at me
from the Goat Queen.
From the Goat Queen. And, Go Queen, I see what you've wrote here. I'm listening and I hear you. But here's what I got to say, okay? I got my own announcement to make, okay? And you know what that is? You ready, buddy? You going to have fun editing this?
I'm strapping in and, you're
going to have fun editing
shelter
this.
In the bomb shelter. Like, I'm already figuring out, like, hey, cool, now I know where this starts. Go.
Go Queen is a she on my wife. That's right. She took her out and she wife and she said her was this big. And I said, that's disgusting. So I'm running a call out on my goddamn podcast. Go Queen, you got a small it's like the size of a walnut, except way smaller. My look like this. Yeah, that's right. All point, no quill. So yeah, thank you for joining in on us on Chocolate Covered Gaming. This has been a Candy Corner on Dice Rolling that has ended in a way that I can only think of 2 words that really sum up how I feel after all that. I'm not sure about you, 1,000 grand. After what I did, you've re-earned your title.
Oh boy.
You've gone beyond 100 grand. You've become 1,000 grand for what you're going to have to deal with in editing.
Oh, sweet. Now I get the phantom pain of being punished grand.
Yeah. So there's only 2 words I can think of 1,000 grand to summarize what I just did. We're sorry.
We're very sorry.
Thanks for joining us.